I think he can help in two regards. I think offensively, he could be a secondary playmaker.
Right.
I think defensively, just on the glass alone, I think like he could guard somebody down in the post, and I think he could block out and rebound. I don't think he's going to be effective in switching and keeping guys in front of him. I don't think that's going to be his strength.
Yeah, he's limited. It's a shame, like, because basically they have the dream team. Like, remember when I forgot what year that was, which Olympic year? Don't quote me, but there was an Olympic team that had Kyrie, Harden, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. Is this getting cheesy?
Yeah, when you're a star NBA player, there's only a handful of people like that on the earth beside you. So you tend to gravitate towards people. People can understand the life you're living, keep up with the lifestyle you're living.
Right.
So, once you're there and you have a chance, there was no doubt in my mind the Nets were getting Griffin. I was trying to find a betting line for it. I couldn't get one. It'll be real cheesy if we wind up with Drummond. I mean, to me, that's just overkill. We'll lose like 1 or 2 games in the playoffs if that happens.
I think they could go 4-4-4-4. No,
yeah, which wouldn't even be that fun.
It would be fun for me. I would love to get through my first finals, my first championship, like with no stress. I mean, it's not going to happen that way. But if they get Drummond, there's no way the NBA is going to let them get Drummond. You see that happening?
No one's going to trade for him.
Somebody do. You think? Wait. Did I hear that, Rick? You said someone's going to trade for him?
Yeah, somebody will. Somebody will find. He's not a great player. He's not a guy you want as your best player in your team.
But you want to take on $14 million a cap this year.
Somebody will.
The people who can trade for him. The only person I see doing it is maybe the Knicks.
Yeah, they could just absorb him. They don't even have to send anything out. They've got like 15 or 16 million in cap space.
Yeah, they could so do it. They have to almost, right?
They should, really.
They almost. I mean,
second round pick or something. He helps them.
Right. No, you're right. He destroys Mitchell Robinson. Like, he has no use.
You bring him off the bench, and then you've got a good center.
They
rotation.
like Noel better. Well, Tibbs like
not if
veterans.
They had Drummond.
No, I'm saying coming off the bench. I don't think Mitchell Robinson plays before Noel.
Well, so either way, you just have a good rotation. And that helps them because if you look at their schedule, their playoff push is going to be tough. Drummond would help them a lot, but I guess we'll see. What is it? The 25th is the deadline coming up, I think, right?
Yep.
So we're not that far off. A couple more weeks.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting week of entry because every agent is gonna basically leak to someone where their player wants to go. Drummond wants to go to Brooklyn.
You think Toronto trades Lowry?
Say it again?
Do you think Toronto trades Lowry?
Only if Ujiri gets the deal he wants. I think he's trying.
I would not want to see him wind up in Philly.
Just do simple math. Don't get creative. Ben Simmons, Kyle Lowry, Joel Embiid versus Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris. Like, it's not.
Yeah, we'd still be the favorites, but I think that would help them a lot because they don't have any proven playoff guys, and he is one. And he gives them that perimeter threat that they don't have with Simmons out there. So I wouldn't be worried about it, but I definitely would rather not see that happen.
Do you see how even yes, yesterday was a shit game. It was. The game before it was a scrimmage.
Yeah, they didn't really play all that well against Boston either. And I remember being like, all right, they're still winning at halftime.
They covered.
And I'm like Harden had a ton of turnovers in the first half. And actually, I tweeted, what is his name? Wall Street Reek.
Yeah.
at halftime, I said if they cut the turnovers down, they'll win by double digits, and that's kind of exactly what happened.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, they
They just
covered.
keep scoring.
They they covered, which made me happy. But they also just showed that they have gears, they have levels that a very good team who's playing well, who's rested. I don't know if the All Star might have like thrown a monkey wrench into their groove, but they've got all their players back. They're getting a fully healthy, nicely rested Marcus Smart back to play defense, elite defense, and we slapped them. When it and the worst thing is this is who they are. This is the team that they're gonna be. We did it without KD.
We've been on the other end of this coin most of our fanhood, where you're typically not the best team. And whenever you play those teams, especially if it's like in a playoff series, if you're up 12 with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter, it doesn't matter. It's always important, like, what's the score at the end of the quarter? How do you finish halves and quarters? And when the Nets were down about 11 at some point in that second quarter. When they were winning at halftime, I was like, this game is over, because they played like dog crap. And then for a 2-minute spurt, they played well, and they took the lead back. Yeah. They just have that kind of firepower where they just keep going and going and going. And as long as they're not turning the ball over and they're rebounding decently and the shots per team are close, they're going to win 95% of the time.
Have you noticed they've played Bruce Brown less?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to play Claxton,
you're going to play Bruce Brown less.
With Green, somebody's minutes got to be cut.
Yeah. No, I'm dying to see what the rotations are, because where they play Blake Griffin will tell you who acts for him. If they ever start Blake Griffin, I think he was a Steve Nash.
Griffin will start if they do a Griffin, Green, KD, Harden, Irving lineup. And then they would have, but I just, I don't see how. The problem is like DeAndre has to play next to a Durant-esque player. I mean, I guess you could play him with Green too, but I don't know about those lineups. That's going to be the hardest thing for Nash to kind of navigate here is minute allocation and rotation, and how he mix and matches these pieces.
Right. You know what would be my vote? I just think this kid Claxton is more special in what they know. That you'll never see a veteran team go to the kid, but I just think you could have unique spurts of time on the court if you play Claxton with KD. That combination could be hellacious.
Yeah.
But the soonest we see that do anything meaningful, it'll be next year, because they just don't trust kids, one. And two, he has a lot of work in the gym to do.
Yeah. He's got to get physically stronger, too.
Right. And I don't know if he needs to just go and just start punching big garbage cans full of rice or something like that. Pots of rice. But he's got to get tougher. This is one of those critiques that I always, disregard, but he takes some of those fouls and he looks way too hurt.
Yeah.
Not saying that he has to toughen up or anything like that. It's just you're a front court player, and so by definition you're going to get pounded. You're going to get hit. This is a finesse team. You're going to be put in the most finesse situations, but hands, fingers, karate chops, elbows to the kidney, all of that is coming your way, and you've got to toughen up, Nick. And I think that has a lot to do with why he's not going to see a lot of minutes. But I root for the kid. I think what the Nets can be with that kid. Oh.
Yeah, and a subplot to the season is, can they start developing guys to be the bridge players? Him, Shamet, whoever they draft this year. Like they should use this draft selection this year.
Right.
and get another young player into the fold that they can develop to maybe be a starter in 3 years down the line. A rotation. Like they're going to have to re-sign Shaman, I would think, right?
And they're gonna have to trade Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie could bring back some assets that lets Sean Marks take a few more swings and at bringing in some young
Right.
pieces that
My
in
guess is
concert.
Dinwiddie's going to be a player's coming back. I don't think it's going to be a picks, but I guess we'll see. But like Shamit, you're seeing could be a guy who could be a potential, starter down the line for your
Yeah.
team. And then obviously Claxton, so they can get another guy in the program for whoever they draft. And then when you're a good team, it's easy because now these guys develop the right habits early in their career. They see
Right.
what it's supposed to look like.
The
It feels like it's a
intensity.
little bit easier, right?
Like some of those Chicago Bulls teams after Jordan left, you knew they weren't winning championships, but they had, and Scotty wasn't the dude to lead them all the way, but still they had reflexes that that alone gets you to the Eastern
There
Conference
was a
Finals.
standard. There
Right.
was a standard set, and then we're getting so far ahead of ourselves. But whenever this run is over with the Nets, you hope that the next guys keep that standard, and you don't stay down for too long where it disappears. You want to stay good, get like legitimately good again quick enough. So kind of like the Heat have been doing. Even in their middle years when they're in between stages, they're still competitive. They still fight for playoff spots. They don't completely bottom out. That's where you want to get to in the NBA. I never want the Nets to be picking in the top 5 ever again. Like I just don't. I could care less about it. Just
Yeah.
stay solid and try to always build like that.
Yeah, no, I look, I think the Nets are a destination now. It's everything hinges on the championship. Once you see an organization win a championship and you can sit that Svengali, that Jedi Master, that it's more myth than man. The
It's like
shit that's around Jerry West, around Riley.
If you can bang one hot girl, her friends who weren't attracted to you anymore now think like, well, if she's good enough for her, she's good enough for me.
Absolutely.
You're in the club now. You got the stamp of approval by just one of them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the Nets are. It's like they finally got the hot girls in the door. Now they just need to sleep with them and get that final stamp of approval.
Right. They win it. What Scola said couldn't be more right. And now we're a destination, so we're just gonna flip players as they become available. I really believe that. I think I'm looking at the Knicks, right? Who will be a nice bridge of getting to the next part of this conversation. And I'm watching RJ Barrett get 32 or 34 last night. I forgot what he did. But I look at his game and I look at what Kyrie has to be, Harden has to be, and Kevin Durant has to be just to compete with the other teams that are in the competition for the championship. Forget about all the other things that's around it. RJ Barrett is never going to reach that level. He's never going to be that player. If he's
Right.
the third best player on your championship team, you're not winning the championship.
Probably not. Definitely not now. He's just like Karis LeVert.
Yep. I have to admit it. I love Karis. I was happy to have Karis. But
Just like D'Angelo Russell.
But him, D'Angelo, they're good players. And we'll see when this generation of players are gone. Like it's not even far. Like the NBA is about to have a whole, completely flip over.
I think there's going to be a downturn in the league ratings wise because we are going to lose the LeBrons and the KDs, at least. And there's really nobody behind.
Well, Luka.
Miss me with that Zion shit. He's a good player for sure. He is not that class of player.
I don't think he could be the best player on your championship team.
No chance.
I think he could be the second or third best player. But that goes to show, like, all of the things that people don't even talk about that Sean Marks did, putting in that first class, training. What do they call it? They have a word for it.
Performance center.
Yeah, exact. No, no,